Hello, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Are We Where Yet podcast. I'm your host, Johnny. I'm going to be Mahatma Johnny today. Okay, is that cool, Rigo?
It wasn't cool the first time.
Okay, well, I'm going to do it anyway, damn it. And thank you guys for listening. I want to thank our partners, Studio Y Yoga. You can find out more about them at studioyyoga.com. Then you can sign up for the classes on Mind Body. They got some great classes there. They do stuff at the Pint House. You can check them out. They got like a beer and a yoga night or something like that. And really great. I go there for the meditations with Sherry. Shout out to Sherry. Really love doing that meditation. And also North End Coffee House. Mention us. You get 10% off. Oh, Studio Y, you get 20% off class or membership. And if you go to North End Coffee House, 10% off coffee or a free cookie, whatever you like. We got Rigo over here.
Hello.
Hi, Rigo. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
All right. That's enough out of you. Okay. And we got a very special guest who's in town. He's going to be speaking at the Spiritual Center tonight. And let's see if I get it right. Ajahn Sarayut.
Yes, you get it right. Yes.
I got it right. What do I win? Do I win anything, Rigo?
Spiritual guidance.
Okay, I get spiritual guidance today, I guess. So anyway, thank you for being a guest here, Sarayut. I saw on the Spiritual Center's page that you were going to be coming down. And what are you doing in Yuma?
For tonight, I'm come here to teach mindfulness meditation. Yeah, to a group here in town. Yeah.
Okay.
A good friend of mine invited me to come to do a meditation workshop here. She knew me from my work for the state prison here. I normally come to Yuma once a month to teach meditation and Buddhism to our friend in state prison in St. Louis. Yeah.
Okay. So if you guys can tell, he has a little bit of an accent. Where are you originally from, Sari?
I'm from Thailand. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Born and raised in Thailand?
Born and raised in Thailand. I moved here about a little bit over 18 years ago. Yeah. In Tucson, Arizona. Yeah.
Tucson is where you're located now. You have a, what is it exactly in Tucson that you have? It's a meditation center, a spiritual center? How would you describe it?
It's a Buddhist monastery and meditation center as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's a Buddhist monastery. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not really familiar with how a monastery works.
So the monastery is where the monk live and work full time. Yeah. So we live on the site of the monastery. Yeah. And also, since we are located in the middle of Tucson, our monastery also the house of Tucson Buddhist Meditation Center. Yeah. And we offer Buddhist service and Buddhist class and meditation to the community in Tucson.
Okay, so meditation is something I'm pretty familiar with. I've been practicing mindfulness meditation for almost 2 years now. 2 years now, and I know that's gotten really big in the West, mindfulness meditation. Is that a practice that you teach?
Yes, it's a practice that I practice and also I teach as well. Yeah, I think nowadays there is the aspect of Buddhism that attract many Westerners to Buddhism or to meditation. Yeah. So
you think meditation or the mindfulness meditation is what's getting people interested in this day and age into Buddhism and finding out a little bit more about it?
Correct. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So how'd you get involved in Buddhism? Basically, was it because you were born into it? Was it something like a path that you chose, or?
I think first I born into the culture. Yeah, I was born and raised in Thai Buddhist culture in Thailand when I was young. Yeah, I started to follow my grandmother to the monastery when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. Yeah.
5 or 6 years old, you went to grandma and she was going to the monastery and you wanted to find out what's going on.
Right. And normally my mother would want me to accompany my grandmother to carry something for her to,
So
to
you got
the
to
monastery. And
Yeah.
also in Thai culture, when the community member go to the monastery that we call Wat, or the temple, the lay community member like you, like Rico, would normally prepare something either to cook breakfast or lunch or offer something for the monk. Yeah. So I normally help my grandmother to carry something or even her stuff,
Okay, so it was you started off with a little bit of service. You
Right,
figured
right,
how to serve these monks that are providing a service for your community.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And when I was young, like a baby, I just follow what my mother, what my father, what my grandmother told me to do. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then I get to know the monk there and get to close to them. But even that, I didn't have the intention yet when I was young. Yeah.
So you didn't have the intention of becoming a monk yet, but you were familiar with the practices. So what age did you say, you know what, this is the life for me. I want to be a monk and live in a monastery and serve my community?
And actually, this thought, it happened to me later when I already been a monk. Yeah. Excuse me. I became a monk when I was 15 years old, and that is my father's decision. Yeah.
Oh, so it was your father's decision at first. Okay.
Right. Yeah. And then when I begin to live there, and I developed my understanding and like to be as a monk. Yeah. Afterward, not
at first. Nobody likes when they're 15 what their dad's telling them to do, right? Come on.
Right. Yeah.
Even in Thailand, there has to be a little bit of pushback.
Right, but we grew up in a Buddhist culture that we have been raised to be good, obedient children to our parents. Yeah, so you normally listen to your parent if they tell you to do something, and I think I have faith in my father direction at that time, even though I'm not quite.
You weren't quite sure of
Yeah,
this path.
Right, because I'm so young, Yeah.
Okay, so 15, he says, okay, son, you're going to be a monk. Okay, so what time or what age was it when you gave consent to that? When you said it's okay that I'm going to follow through with this lifestyle of living in the monastery?
I think when I was at my 20 years old.
20 years old, took about 5 years to adjust.
Right. And at that time, then I grew up enough to make my decision. And at the age of 20 in Buddhist culture, you're going to get a full ordination. So when I'm under 20 years old, I still kind of have ordination to be like a novice,
Okay.
But when I turn to 20 years old, then I can make my own decision whether I want to continue or maybe I choose to do something else, maybe to disrobe,
Oh,
Yeah.
so that is definitely a choice at the age of 20. You don't have to. You're no longer under the sway of your parents. So you can make the decision yourself.
Right, but they still have a lot of influence of my decision. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I still have to consult with them, talk to them about if I'm going to leave a monastery to return to secular life, So my parents normally will encourage me to stay on the path.
Stay in the path.
Right.
Was your dad a big part of the monastery in his childhood, or?
I think we all part of the community
Okay.
at the monastery. So he know that they normally will go to the monastery, and help to support whatever work that the monastery need to get it done. Yes.
Okay, so then you're the one that's kind of next in this line of serving your community and becoming a monk. You're 20 years old. You gave consent to it. You're part of this thing now, right?
Yes. Even though at that time we have a lot of Buddhist monks live at the monastery as well. I'm part of the community. It means that when I begin to live inside the monastery, then you build up a new friendship and new relationship with another person. Then I consider as my spiritual father, my master.
Okay, so
later on, yeah.
who was your spiritual master? Who's your spiritual father? I guess in that during that time.
At that time is we call Venerable Pan Keo. That's his name. It's a Thai name. He's been a monk for many years. Yeah, and my father and my mother trust them that they can raise me on their behalf.
Okay, so it kind of molds you and sculpt you in the way that
Yes.
these Buddhist practices that have been going on in Thailand for how long? Like centuries, right? Long time.
Yeah, for over 1,000 years. Yeah.
Okay, and so you took to it. You took a liking to it. What was it about it that made you okay giving consent to these practices?
Because it helped me. It helped to center myself even in my teenager years. Yeah, before I turned to 20.
Oh, so you noticed a difference.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So
there
when
was, I got to say that was practical, right? There was a practical sense of like, this is actually doing something good for me.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I begin to learn the theory of the teaching, learn the philosophy of the teaching of the Buddha, and also practice into the tradition. So I know I practice meditation at the same time that I study Buddhist philosophy or Buddhist teaching, and it, I think it speaks to me, if I would say,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay. A lot of my listeners probably aren't too familiar with Buddhism and what Buddhism actually is. I know growing up here in the West, I wasn't familiar with it. I grew up as I guess a traditional Christian religion. And a lot of thought of that was Buddhism would maybe be evil or some people might say demonic or use these type of words because they don't understand what Buddhism is. I've done some research since then on my own. And from what I found, Buddhism doesn't really have a God, correct? There's not like a God that you guys worship. Buddha is not a God.
Correct. The Buddha is not a god, and we do not worship the Buddha, but we do pay respect and pay our gratitude to the Buddha for his legacy, for his contribution, for the teaching from the practice that we have today. Yeah. So we normally have a gesture of bringing our hand together and our heart, as I told you earlier. When
the
you're
greeting.
about to,
I was going to shake your hand, and you said,
Right.
this is how we greet. Put your hands to your heart,
right.
put them like this, and then a little bow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a gesture of we paying respect, and also we show our gratitude for what we have today, especially his teaching that helped to center me as a person, teach me to be mindful, to be skillful, and avoid doing some unwholesome thing in my life,
Gotcha. So you just, it's a form of respect. It's like you said, it's some gratitude saying that this man, the Buddha, went on this certain path and he was able to pass that on. And now you are grateful that you have that because it served a practical good in your life.
Correct. Yeah. So I see the Buddha as my inspiration, for me to live my life. Yeah. And if he can do it, if he can become enlightened, if he can liberate himself from suffering, from dissatisfactoriness in life, so we do have the same potential,
So because he could do it, so can you.
Correct. Yes.
Correct. See, I just got to say this, and it might upset people. That's how I view Christ, Jesus, right? I view Jesus as like, well, if he could do it, I could do it.
Right.
And I think that's like a proper view or respect of the Christ. And I'm grateful the same way you are grateful for the Buddha. I'm grateful for Jesus and what he taught and the things that he did. And I believe because he did it, I could do it. Now, if you want to get down to if he was God or not, that's like a different debate. Like I know people believe that he's the one and only true God and this and that, but it's really helped me to view it the way you're viewing the Buddha.
Right, because I think you have to take the teaching into practice and how you can benefit from the teaching,
Yes.
So we live by his teaching, like people say that you live by the Spirit of Christ, for example, like that.
Okay, and it's like so, and the way I hear that now is like the Spirit of Christ. The way I hear that now is like in the spirit of it. So like you could live in the spirit of Buddha, like in the way he did, his mannerisms, his understanding of life, the way he treated people. Some of his big things were, or main teachings is attachment, correct? Like that's like the root of suffering is how attached we are to things.
Right, and his teaching normally will help us to deal with our attachment, that we have to whatever we associate in our life, and he see the attachment, this craving, desire as the cause of our suffering, and as long as we attach to this, we are going to face the consequence from our own attachment, from our own desire, So to be better or to be best is to liberate from this, and that's the teaching of the Buddha lead to, that to liberate ourselves from suffering, Yeah.
Because there's a lot of suffering going on in the world.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
A guy that I study a lot is Jordan Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big intellectual now, and he talks about like this world is suffering. There's a lot of suffering. So Buddha has an answer to this suffering. He set a course for how you do it. Even in my Christianity, I left for quite some time, and I came back through studying the Tao Te Ching. We were talking about it a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I studied some concepts of the East that the Tao Te Ching originated in China, and that helped me understand my faith now.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the practices that really helped me was meditation. It centered me to be able to focus on some of these teachings of the Christ, of the Buddha, of whoever, because now I could center myself. It was actually a practical practice that gave me the ability to do something. So in Buddhism, there's actual practices.
Yes, and the practice that I mentioned earlier that attract Westerner to Buddhism is the practice of mindfulness meditation.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually learn how to be mindful, how to be aware, and how to be skillful of how you live your life. So that's the teaching and also the practice that people benefit from that. And there's many people, they don't have to consider themselves as Buddhists,
Mm-hmm.
but you can benefit from that as long as you intend to put the teaching into practice, and it means you have to be the one that do it, nobody can do it for you, you want to be happy, then you need to seek and put the teaching into practice and live your life with that,
And so in the West, a lot of times I encounter people. So I'm a Christian because I believe something, but that belief is always disconnected from an actual practice. It's like, well, I believe Jesus was the Christ, and so now I'm good. I got like a get out of hell free card or something, but it's always detached from an actual practice. What's always impressed me with Buddhism and my studying of the East is that there's actual, like you said, an actual practice. And once I started meditating, my life radically changed. I see things from a different perspective. Like before I react to something now,
Mm-hmm.
I have like a state of mind of space between
Mm-hmm.
my emotion.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't automatically, I could see myself before I get mad. Does that make sense?
I would say yes. I think you see yourself when you're about to get upset. That's how the teaching and how the practice teach you to be well aware of your senses.
Exactly. I could feel this thing coming up, and now instead of like automatically, cussing out that person that cut me off in traffic,
Right.
I'm aware of this thing coming up, and I'm like, you know what? That's not a good idea. I'm not going to do that, and then I could almost shut it off.
Right. So you become aware of yourself and how you feel and how you perceive things. That is mindfulness meditation, and that is the teaching of the Buddha. Is teach us to focus on how you live your life here and now.
Here
Not
and
yes-
now.
Yeah, not yesterday, not tomorrow. Focus our life here and now. So actually, we live our life. We don't live our life in the past. We don't live in the future. We live our life in this present moment. And even at the same time that we speak this and have a radio talk or have something like this, we are here and now. We don't be someplace else.
Because our minds as humans tend to wander. We start thinking about like, oh man, I did this in the past, or, oh, I got this coming up. I got to pay some bills. And then you'll never be able to enjoy the present moment.
Correct. Yeah. So the meditation that you probably learn from it and help you to center yourself in the present moment and begin to enjoy your life here and now, even though that moment might be very challenging, but it helps you to live in the moment, not run away from the present moment. Yeah, and that's the meditation that the practice that I have been doing since I was 15 years old, or even before that, but without knowing that clearly. And I think the education later on in my life helped me to not only practice and also understand what I practice.
Okay. And you mentioned about running away. That's one of the things that always bothered me with the Christian tradition is like when we get to heaven, it's like it's going to be over there. Everything's going to be okay over there. But nothing in Christianity really taught me how to deal with today, until I started studying the things of the East, and like, no, it's okay today. Like I need to figure out today, and mindfulness and these different practices help me to come into the now and be okay with the now. And so you're saying whatever the situation is, good or bad, correct?
Right. Yeah.
You're in it and you deal with it. How do you deal with the upsetting situation?
So first, I have to deal with myself first. I have to be aware of how I feel and how I perceive myself, my life, and how I interact with other people. Yeah, and then learn to recognize that. And then, since one of the teaching in Buddhism is nothing permanent.
Nothing's permanent.
Everything change, everything change, nothing permanent. So our pain and suffering and other condition in life they're not here forever, So we have to be patient and to live through it and see that moment seed for exist. And then we learn to replace that state of mind with what we call skillful mind, peaceful mind, the thought and the idea and the emotion that help to enhance our quality of life, rather than that to just sink into our suffering, our stress and depression all the time.
Which is pretty easy for people to do, is just continue to go down that path of the depression, of the anxiety, and the despair. You see it a lot here in the Western culture, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I think we see that a lot. I think that's because of people don't want to face themselves at this present moment,
It's a little bit scary, right?
Right. Yeah. But in Buddhism, we teach and train ourselves to face this. We cannot run away from this forever. We cannot hide from it.
How do people hide from it? What are certain things? Is it like drugs? Is it?
That might be too, or not try to think about it. Not try to focus about it.
Oh, maybe just binge watch something on Netflix.
I
Just try to like get their mind off of it, basically.
right, yeah. I think we like to be distracted, Yeah, and we don't want to face that. And people, when they have something going on in their life, they find something that to distract themselves from the problem, from the issue that they are facing, instead of face that. And it's going to be challenging. It's going to be difficult, but we have to make that change anyway. In Buddhism, we believe that we direct our life. Our life depends on our self.
You as an individual and the choices that you make or the choices that you don't make.
Correct. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about facing yourself. We took a break from the podcast, and all of December, I wanted to be able to just be at home with my kids and just sit still as much as I can. And I'm pretty sure you would believe, but it's very difficult for me to just sit home some days and just sit still and not text somebody, not get into something, not like distract myself. I just wanted to sit still and not avoid my thoughts and like dive into them. It was difficult. It was like I said, scary.
I think because of we feed ourselves with that distraction in our day-to-day life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we want to change, and sometimes it's maybe to make a radical change that forms a person who very busy in their life, all involved with some other thing, and begin to stop and sit down and slow down and begin to enjoy life. It's for some people, it's very scary for them,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have the opportunity to volunteer myself at the VA hospital, and I teach our veteran there in Tucson to meditate. For them, when you turn your mode into a silent mode, for them it's like something go wrong,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot going on in their head.
Right. So I have to reverse or even convince them that nothing bad happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're not in the battle anymore. You're not in the front line anymore. You are here and now. You have to live your life here and now, not in your past.
So okay. So you go to the VA hospital. You deal with somebody that might have
PTSD.
PTSD, and you talk to this person that's seen some pretty gruesome stuff at the battlefield,
Right.
and you're asking them, slow down, stop, and let's face these things.
Yeah, I think, for example, when we have a session at the VA, so I volunteer to work at the VA once a week. Yeah, so we normally have a meditation session, not very long, and
About how long?
the whole session is 1 hour, but when you actually do meditation, maybe about 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
And try to change their focus or train them to focus on themselves, because our focus is always out of our body all the time, So I train them to focus on their breathing in and out, For them, sometimes it's difficult because their attention is not inside;
Mm-hmm.
it's always outside.
It's always, and it's crazy to believe that it's always been outside.
Right.
There's never a point where they were allowed to go inside. And again, one of the things in Christianity I learned is like, well, nothing's good inside. You got to get it outside from God. And but then once I started to meditate and go inside, like I became like an actual different person from the inside out. It wasn't like rules. It was actually like I move slower. I do things a lot slower. I'm very mindful. Like I see litter, I pick it up because I'm just going slow in a park, and I can do that now. And it's really helped. But it was at first having to face some of those demons to quiet my mind, because I was a guy that was always busy. I was a promoter here. I was on radio, TV, always in the nightclub, all the lights and the cameras, the everything. And I tried Xanax and Wellbutrin and, medical marijuana. I tried these different things to shut down my mind because it was just going so much.
Right.
And even alcohol, whatever I could do. But it wasn't until I saw a lady present and say, hey, meditation can change your life. And I'm like, what, focus on your breathing? How is that going to change my life? Like, you don't know my life. You don't know the crazy things that go inside of my head. But sure enough, I took this 1-month class. And it's like, whoa, I've never been here before, ever. At 36 years old, 37 years old, I've never been in this place where I'm okay being in my skin.
Right. Yes. I think what you do is you begin to focus on yourself and begin to see yourself from inside, and you begin to face yourself, and
yourself could be pretty dark sometimes, right? You're capable of some.
Right. I think we are human beings. We still have, I think, dark side or bright side, But in Buddhism, we need to put the light over the dark side, then we can see that clear,
Okay.
It means that we are going to face both sides anyway, And when we do meditation, we focus our attention on our breathing in and out. You begin to look into your body first in the physical nature of your breathing, And then you begin to see your thought, your emotion that pop up in yourself, in your mind, in your emotion. You begin to see that, begin to recognize that, and sometimes we are surprised. This is me, like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a little bit about meditation, which I suggest anybody would do that. And you teach it here, you say, at the prison?
I teach at the state prison. I volunteer to come to Yuma a little bit over a year, to volunteer to teach our Buddhist community in the state prison here in Yuma. Yeah.
And then also tonight you're in Yuma because you're going to be teaching it at the spiritual center, correct?
Correct, yes. One of my friends invite me if I can offer any meditation workshop here for one class, for today in the evening, and also tomorrow having a talk, based on Buddhist teaching, Buddhist philosophy. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I want to get back to, some of Buddhist philosophies. So there is not a specific deity that you look to. My wife had a question, and the question she would like to ask is like, so in her mind, it's like, so then who do you serve if there's no God? Who would you say you serve?
We don't really serve anybody in terms of worshiping thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned earlier, that if we do paying our respect, we acknowledge that good deed that they have done before us, and we happen to benefit from that. So when we bow to the Buddha, in Buddhism, there are three things that we acknowledge. First, the Buddha. Second, the Dharma, his teaching. And then third, the Sangha and his disciple, his student, who follow his teaching, become a monk, become a nun, and become the enlightened person after the Buddha. So we recognize these three figure or thing in Buddhism we call a triple gem.
Okay.
So the Buddha we see the Buddha as our spiritual teacher who went on his path, discovered the teaching, discovered the philosophy, and then returned to the society and teach people in his time. And what he teach is the Dharma,
The Dharma, yeah.
Yeah, the Dharma or the teaching. Yeah. So we pay respect and we honor the Dharma because that is our guiding principle that we live by.
Mm-hmm.
And also the Sangha is like the witness of what the Buddha discovered, because of not only the Buddha himself that benefit from the teaching, from what he discovered, there are so many people who follow him afterward and become enlightened and benefit from his teaching that we call the Sangha, is his disciple. So all of these three things, we normally when we go to the temple or to the monastery, we bow 3 times with our heart, with our hand, to the Buddha, to the Dhamma, to the Sangha.
And it's showing respect.
Show our respect and our gratitude for what we have today, Otherwise, without the Buddha, without the Dhamma, without the Sangha, we don't have anything to pass on to our society or to our generation. I probably not going to be here if there's no Buddha and no Dhamma.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so like in the Christian tradition, there was Moses that went up on top of a mountain, kind of became enlightened, spoke with God, came off of the mountain and went and taught these principles of God to his people. So there's like a similar story in Christianity with like Moses or Abraham, who's left his father and his community to go follow this voice that's telling him. So there's a lot of different, there's a lot of similarities to these stories. So let's talk about karma.
Right.
Okay, that's a word we hear a lot. Can you explain karma to me?
Karma, I think now it become, the word that we use in English now. We talk a lot about karma. In Buddhism, karma is an intentional action, And one thing about the karma is that every intentional action that you do in your life have the consequence, So the teaching of the Buddha, we do not count every action as a karma, only the one that we have the intention.
Intentionally.
Or we have a volition. If, for example, if we open the door and bump to somebody's head, that is not karma. That is an action because we don't have intention to open the...
You didn't mean to hit that person in the head.
Correct, yes. Yeah. And so in Buddhism, karma is an intentional action. The thing about karma or intentional action is it has consequence. So every intentional have its consequence. So the teaching of the Buddha when it comes to karma is teach us to be responsible person,
In everything that you do.
Correct, yes.
So then the mindfulness plays into that because then you could be intentional with what you do. You're saying the consequences come good or bad, again, because there's if you live in an intentional way, you start to make better decisions, correct?
Correct, yes.
And so you reap the fruit of those better decisions.
Correct, yeah. In both ways,
In both ways.
Good and bad.
Good and bad. So, but then obviously you don't want the bad, so you're starting to make better decisions, right?
Right, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So the teaching of mindfulness meditation in Buddhism, or the teaching from the Eightfold Path, is teach us or train us to be a mindful person, to be a skillful person, to be well aware that what we think, what we speak, and what we act with our body have the positive consequence or good consequence, because we still live depends on our karma. So if we train ourselves to live our life with the idea or with the practice of karma, it teaches us to be a responsible person and not to be irresponsible person, not to blame someone else, but not ourselves, for whatever we face,
Oh, so like if you get something happens to you, you kind of reflect, well, what did I do maybe to cause this?
Correct, yes. It helps you to reflect of what we experience in the present moment,
So you're not going around blaming other people for it was my parents' fault, it was this guy's fault, it was always out. You're saying, okay, what did I maybe do to be able to bring this into life?
Correct, yes. So it might be someone else involved with that, but the person who directly involved is ourselves.
Gotcha.
So that teaching for me, it sent to me in my day-to-day life, day-to-day practice, and when I interact with other people who I don't have control of, but I do have control of myself, how I think, how I speak, and how I interact with them physically.
Okay, so the teaching of karma helps you to be able to put that into, again, a practice of intentionally do things to get that intentional good things or good consequences to come to your life.
Right, correct, yeah. And
so like you're going to love Rigo over here, you're going to love me because that's good karma, correct?
Correct, yes, yeah.
So why would you want to hurt us?
That's the thing, yeah. And I think why we want to hurt somebody else, So that's related to our practice, what we call loving kindness practice. You learn to develop a skillful thinking, And one of the skillful thinking is loving kindness. Be kind, be gentle to other people. It's better that to be angry and with someone else,
Mm-hmm.
So you learn to connect yourself, connect your individual self, to someone else that you live and or around you, So it helps to build a good relationship, one to another person, build a good relationship in your family, in your society, and in the country or in the world that we live in.
And it's almost like it sounds to me in the correct order, because you start here first, and then the person that might be in front of you, and then your larger community, and then the world, right?
Right.
In this day and age, you have everybody on Facebook talking about the government, and they're blaming these things that they have no control over and how they would fix it. But you're saying the place they need to start is inside.
In ourselves first, yeah.
Where we have the control.
Right. Then we have... I think first we do have some control of it. Yeah, even though at the big picture we not really have any control of thing that we live in. But at least in our own mind that we can see from now, we can train ourselves. That's why. The practice in Buddhism, when it comes to mindfulness meditation, is you can train yourself, And then what you train will make you what you become,
Okay, and then but one of the things that helped me with that is, I don't know if you're familiar with the law of attraction. Have you heard a lot about that?
No.
Okay, so with the law of attraction, so I've trained my mind, and I'm putting out better things. So it's basically like you reap what you sow. So now I'm getting better things back. Because I've been able to take the time to sit down and train my mind. Now I'm getting better outcomes, and I actually see the world differently now. Actually, it's almost like putting on glasses, and you kind of see things better because you've slowed down, and it's not this fast-paced world where everything's hectic and chaotic. It's more like, I'm okay.
Yeah, I think when you become aware of yourself, right? So you have a different perspective of life, You're reflecting differently, because you have a clear...
You're reflecting differently, okay.
Right, yeah, you have a clear mind and concentrate mind, instead of the mind that's on the run all the time, the mind that's busy all the time, not really here. So when you focus on being here and now, so what you reflect, it helps a lot of your attention, right? Because you pay attention to it. Then you begin to, I think, develop the appreciation of what you reflect and how you live your life, And especially ourselves, you cannot run away from yourself, and we cannot run away from ourselves. And this person we live with 24 hours, 7 days a week, Yeah, you have a good friend like Rico, but he's not here with you all the time.
Exactly.
But the person who here and now with you all the time is yourself. So you have to learn to make friends with yourself.
To love yourself.
Right, to love yourself. And then something that we have to, I think, train, because we train ourselves to love other people all the time. And we overlook ourselves that this person do need love from ourselves, So the teaching when it comes to loving kindness in Buddhism is you learn to love yourself first, you learn to see, you learn to be kind, be compassionate to yourself. Then you can understand that how much you love yourself and understand other people, how much they love themselves. You will not develop any act that will hurt and harm other people in any way.
Because you love yourself first.
Right. You understand that you don't want anybody to hurt and harm you.
Mm-hmm.
So the other person, yes.
Why would you hurt and harm somebody else?
Correct. Yeah.
So it's almost like when people are trying to give this love, unless they experience it here first, they can't really genuinely give it if they don't have it.
Correct. Yes. So we cannot give something that we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I cannot tell you that how delicious of Thai food.
And it's delicious.
Right. Right. Unless I have to try it, then I can convey this to you that it is delicious. But you can take my word for it until you eat Thai food, and then you see, it's good. It's very delicious, right? So first, you might have faith in someone else that you trust. Like I have faith in the Buddha that I trust him, but I cannot have a daydream that my life gonna be okay. Gonna be in heaven or something like that without I actually practice and taste that and experience that,
And it sounds like you've been on a journey of tasting and experiencing these things.
I think in terms of my practice, yes. So you begin to apply this to yourself and see how it works for yourself. Then you can come out and tell other people, yes, this is work for me. Like I have been doing this meditation, this practice under the guidance of the Buddha for over 35 years. Yeah.
Which tripped me out when you told me how old you are, because you don't look over 30. So.
Oh, thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 50 years old. Yeah.
50 years old. You've been right, Rigo?
Yeah.
Tripped me out. So you've been doing this for a while. Just one other word I want to get to: Bodhisattva.
Bodhisattva.
What is a Bodhisattva?
In our tradition, and in Buddhism, Bodhisattva means the person who intends to be the Buddha.
So it tends to. So
who make a vow or intention to be the Buddha, might be the next Buddha. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that something anybody could do?
It's something anybody can do. Yes. Mm-hmm. But you don't really have to be Bodhisattva to practicing Buddhism. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Bodhisattva in our tradition in Buddhism is the person who train themselves and spend a lot of time training, and from time to time, from life to life, maybe can be uncount life. For example, the present Buddha that we study the teaching from, he was the Bodhisattva for many uncount life before he became enlightened.
Gotcha.
Over 2,600 years ago.
Okay.
So yes, everyone can
aspire to be it.
Inspired to be the Buddha. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because the Buddha means being awakened.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying the words like awaken. What is enlightenment? What is this nirvana that you would hear in when people mention Buddhism?
Nirvana or nibbana is the state of being free from our suffering.
Mm-hmm.
In Pali, in the original term, we use the word dukkha. And dukkha can translate into English as the state of dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
So nibbana is state of being free and being at peace from this unsatisfactoriness. Or suffering that we can say. Yeah.
Okay, so like in Western terms, or Christian, like experiencing heaven on earth. In a sense, because in the Christian tradition,
in a sense, yeah. But in Buddhism, nirvana is not heaven. Yeah. It's not a place to go. It's not a place to be born. And actually, nibbana is a state of mind.
So, interestingly, whatever that word is, enough. The church that I go to, my my mentor teaches heaven is a state of mind.
Right.
So that is the practice that I study under, is that heaven is a state of mind, so a state of nirvana, that you can experience it here today, right now. It's not a place you go to later. It's not a geographical location.
Yeah.
It's not in space. It's something that you can experience right now within yourself.
Right. Yeah. And in Buddhism, you can experience or you can attain Nibbana. Have to be in the present moment, have to be here and now,
How else can it be? Because
Right.
all you ever have is the here and now,
Right,
correct?
right. Yeah, and Nibbana is not something that you go after you die, Nibbana is something that you experience and you achieve in the present moment, because that is the moment that you are free from good and bad, and you are at peace when you have nothing to tie you, and that is the state of freedom. Because yes.
So have you experienced these things in little ways in your life?
I think I can compare to that. I wouldn't call Nirvana. Yeah. I call maybe peace. I experience peace. I experience freedom when I am able to focus myself here and now, without anything from the world that I live in to take me to go to this, to go to that direction. So when I fully, in my meditation, that I experience peace, calm, happiness, joy in the present moment. So I can, I can foresee this thing that
You can
it's possible
that it exists. You get like a little glimpse of that this thing obviously exists.
Right.
And so when you're saying these words like peace, happiness, you're talking about being by yourself, right?
Not really. Yeah,
okay.
You can be at peace within yourself.
Or I'm saying within
by
yourself.
And also you can be peace and happy being interact with other people. Yeah.
Okay, but it's not like people go out and try to like get a bigger house or a boat, a new vehicle. They're always looking to outside somewhere to be able to purchase this and bring them happiness. It does for like a moment, but it's so fleeting. So explain a little bit more about this peace and happiness that you're talking about.
So peace and happiness that we talk about in Buddhism, we say that happiness only happen when we are at peace. Peace is happiness. Happiness is peace. You cannot have peace without happiness. You cannot have happiness without peace. So in Buddhism, when we're talking about peace and happiness, it when we are free from our senses. From our senses, from our 5, 6 senses, we are free from the stimulation from our eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body, and the mind. So we are free from this kind of what we call senses, 6 senses. Our happiness is not depends on what we see. It's not depends on what we hear.
It doesn't depend on it, yeah.
And it's free from that because we are not respond to that kind of thing, So you are free from that. So that's why we call peace in Buddhism, that you are not feed yourself or you not feed your senses, But you see the happiness, the pleasure that we experience in this life is always related to our senses, right? You see something good, something beautiful, or you hear something good, some
good music.
Right, good music, or you walk into the studio, you see a beautiful painting, and you're happy about it, but it's not last forever, Yeah, it might change. That state of mind might change. When you stay longer, it might change,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's independent of those things. Is the happiness that you're
not depends on anything,
And that's attainable.
Yes, in Buddhism it's attainable, that you can train yourself, you can train your mind not to rely on this. But now we live in the world that we still live and rely on this. So the teaching in the Buddhism first teach you to be skillful how you use this, how you live your life, even though you are still depends on your senses.
So you still have these senses, but it's just like an accurate way to be able to go about this world using those senses.
Right. And
it's not like those senses are bad.
Right. Yeah. You transform that, you transcend yourself. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to have my eye taken off, have my ear put it out like that. You still use that, but you not really depend or look for that,
And so to me, since I've been doing this, it makes those experiences of the senses much more richer. It makes it more pleasurable because I'm actually there in the moment experiencing them instead of just trying to, I guess if it was eating, just scarfing that food down, trying to get it in my mouth. It's actually, I get to be in the moment and experience the food and the pleasure of the food hitting my palate. And it's a better experience. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. So you actually experience what you are doing in the present moment, right? So we have like a meditation while you are eating. I do it all the time, and when I eat, we tend to eat quiet and focus on what we eat, so we can experience that. At least that bring yourself in what you are doing. Yeah, at that moment, you're not talking. If you're talking and then you're eating at the same time, you distract yourself, right? Yeah, you're not really experience at good food, even though food is good, but your attention is somewhere else,
And I've read studies that if you do eat in that mindful way, the food actually does something different in your body. It actually helps the digestion of the food, and it actually you get more of the nutrients out of it just by being mindful of eating and sitting down in that type of meditative way. You have like this symbiotic relationship with the food.
Right. I think first of all, you digest your food better,
Yeah, and then there's actual scientific data that's true.
Right, and also I think it helps our digestion, our intestine. They don't have to do a lot of work, For me, like when I eat, my eating time will take about 20, 30, or 40 minutes, or even an hour, because I spend a lot of time eating and also paying attention of what I eat, and be mindful of that. So you really pay attention to every bite, everything that you eat.
What would you say to somebody that says, like, I don't have time for that?
And I think we are going to have that kind of expression if we don't make time. Even though we have more than 24 hours, 7 days a week, if the person said, I don't have time for that, you're not going to have time, even though you have a whole life, So my point, I normally say to my student that if you say, or we say that I'm busy all the time, I don't have time for this, you're not going to have time unless or one day you make a decision that I'm going to make time, Actually, we do have a lot of time. We don't want to make time for ourselves when it comes to something that's very important. Yeah. Yeah. For me, I don't believe that we don't have time, No matter how busy we are, we still have time to do something. Yeah.
And one of the things when I started meditating, I did notice how much time I really have. And it was maybe because I wasn't mindful of the time. So it was just going by and I was just busying myself with all these things. But now it's because I meditate 20 minutes in the morning. And at first that was like very, very difficult to do because it's like I could be doing something. I could be brushing my teeth. I could be, getting my clothes ready. I could be taking a shower. So I have to set aside these 20 minutes to breathe. But I started to notice when I came out of the meditation that I did things slower, but like things just like there was less like things in the way. There was less like, I don't even know how to say it, but there was like less things going wrong, I guess. So I'd have better mornings coming out of this.
I think that's
It's almost like time stopped for me, or like got slower. I don't know.
right. In meditation, since you focus only on the present moment, right? If you spend 20 minutes in your meditation, your 20 minutes, it's about breathing in and out. You only focus on here and now. You're not focused on 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour. So your perception about time change. You don't have that kind of perception. So you only have one moment that is present moment, right? So you might do about 20 minutes. It seems to you like a 1 hour maybe, or even it might seem like maybe just 1 minute. It's just a blink of time because you don't pay attention to.
Kind of lose track of that time.
Right. Because that is our convention perception, right? So mindfulness meditation bring you to what we call the reality of life. Yeah, the reality of this universe. It's only here, Yeah, it's only here. Not 30 minutes, not 1 hour, not 1 day, 1 week. So you lose your attention, your attraction on that.
Mm-hmm.
So you only enjoy of being in this present moment when you just focus on here and now,
Yeah, and they say that a lot of people that focus on the past are usually depressed. A lot of people that focus on the future are usually have anxiety or stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually physically harms their body when they're always in the past in their thoughts or always in the future in their thoughts. And you're saying the key is to come to the present moment.
Come to the present moment because of that is the reality, of being in our life, that you only live your life in this present moment. You don't live your life yesterday. You don't live your life tomorrow. Your life always here, right?
Yeah, and there was a really good book that was suggested to me that helped me with this, and I'm going to ask you for some book recommendations and stuff. And but it was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle that really helped me to focus on the now. So if any listeners out there, that was a great place for me to start, is The Power of Now. Do you have any recommendations to our listeners of maybe a book they can read or how to get some information on how to dive deeper into this?
Good. Yeah, I do have some book that I brought with me.
Okay.
That I also use it for my teaching and my study as well. But I'm glad that you mentioned the book called The Power of Now.
You're familiar with it?
Yeah, and a lot of my students, a lot of people who come into our monastery, come into our meditation center, they first exposed to this idea, this book about the power of now. Yeah, but I do have the book that I would like to recommend to our listener out there if they're new to Buddhism or new to meditation and they would like to dig more into this practice. That I believe I can say from my own experience that I benefit from this.
Okay.
So the first book that I would like to recommend, if it's about introduction into Buddhist philosophy,
okay,
the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, I will recommend the book called What the Buddha Taught.
Okay, What the Buddha Taught. Who's that by?
The author is Walpola Lahula.
Okay. What the Buddha Taught.
What the Buddha Taught. Yeah, it's the book that I use a lot in my study.
For beginners?
For beginner, yeah, and teach my Buddhist study class in Tucson. Yeah, What the Buddha Taught, and then when you understand the main concept or the main teaching of the Buddha about the Four Noble Truths, then the knowledge will expand. Then it will help you to seek the other teaching that might help you. But I would say this one is good to begin with. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if it's about meditation, about mindfulness meditation, I have another book called Mindfulness in Plain English, So
Mindfulness in Plain English. Okay.
Mindfulness in Plain English. So the title already said that it's in plain English. So it speaks to whoever new to Buddhism. It doesn't have to have the traditional understanding of mindfulness meditation, but this is the new way of how to communicate to Westerner and also people who speak English, who are new to Buddhism, who are new to meditation. And the author of this book is called Bhante Guraratana. He's a Buddhist monk.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's from Sri Lanka. He lives here in the U.S. now. Yeah, he have a big monastery in West Virginia. Yeah, so this is very well written in English. Yeah, mindfulness in plain English. Yeah, and give you some idea about what is meditation and what isn't meditation.
What isn't meditation? Okay.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and you got another one there.
I have another one called 8 Mindful Steps to Happiness. Yeah, walking the Buddha path. So this one is talking. This one talk about 8 mindful steps. You know, the Eightfold Path.
The Eightfold Path. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the popular teaching of the Buddha. The Eightfold Path is kind of the application. Something that you put into practice, something that you can live by using the 8 principles that help you and help us to how we can live our life and experience peace and joy and happiness in this life, not afterlife. You know.
Yeah. Something you can practically put in your life now that actually you could see benefits from immediately after practicing.
Correct. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, since this book was written by this Buddhist scholar monk who have a very well educated in Buddhist education, so it's very well explained, and I recommend to many, even people who are new to Buddhism, can start with 8 mindful steps to happiness, because it is an actual teaching that help you to start to begin to how you begin to be to have a skillful understanding about your life, to have skillful thinking about yourself, your life, and others, how to be skillful speaking. You know, and since there are 8 of them, so I think if they're interested, they can find out. And now I think they can buy from Amazon and other internet way. You know.
Okay, so like the book that helped me get back into spirituality was Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Wayne Dyer, and he kind of dissected the Tao Te Ching, like I said earlier, and that book really helped set me on a journey back to my spirituality after I've kind of lost everything. I got a question. Could you be a Christian Buddhist?
Yes, I think so. I have a lot of my students who are Christian, and also who like to practice Buddhism and practice meditation. Yeah.
And that's okay.
I think it's okay for me. You know, I'm not sure it's okay for other people who call themselves as a Christian or not. But for me, we see that as just our label, you know.
Gotcha. It's like a philosophy. It's a way of life.
Right. So the most important for me for being here in the West is not to come and evangelize people to be Buddhism or convert them to be Buddhism.
Yeah, you're not going into Christian churches or trying to get people out. I think when I read on your website, you've actually partnered with Franciscan.
Right. Yeah.
Like a Franciscan friar or a monk.
Right. Yeah. We work together for our social issue in Tucson. Like we deal with helping our homeless population in Tucson, you know. Yeah, so I work with that because one of my skill beside practicing meditation and teaching Buddhism is I like cooking, you know.
Oh, you like cooking?
Yeah, so I do that from time to time just to help my friend with that kind of thing. So so for me, it's not important how you call yourself and what you call yourself, you know. And you can call yourself at anything, but you have to be sure, or we have to be sure that we are good and skillful person, that we live in this society, we live in this world, and we benefit from it, you know. And I think whatever knowledge that we can gain and help us to be that type of person, that you be good person, skillful person, and happy person, a peaceful person. I think we can acquire any teaching, any knowledge from any teacher, from the ancient tradition. I don't limit myself just to.
So, like, if Jesus the Christ said something and that could benefit your life, you're like, yes, okay.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, because of good is good, no
Good
matter
is good.
right, no matter who you are, right. What you call good is, loving kindness is loving kindness, and so you are a kind person. It does not limit you to be kind to other people who are not look the same as you, right? Yeah.
So then you said that you would, or you do have people that come into your monastery that are consider themselves Christians, but they're trying to practice Buddhism.
Right, because they see that meditation help them.
It helps them.
Yeah, help them to return to themselves. Help them to gain peace. Help them to love themselves. Help them to access their life, or even gain their life back again. So, but they still go out and practice their traditional religion. And they also have the practice of Buddhism, meditation, because a lot of people who I talk with, who I associate with, the teaching in Buddhism speak to their life, give them some answer that they don't find, they can't find in their own religion, and when they're open to that, so they see, there's another path, there's another way that I can gain this, Yes.
Exactly. And that's kind of what happened with me. I couldn't find some things in my tradition, Christianity. And then when I studied the Tao Te Ching, things started to open up for me. It was a lot more fluid because they didn't believe in a specific God either that I had to listen to. But it was like these things, this way of nature, the way of life, the way of giving, just being this person. It really resonated with me. It's like, oh, wow, this opened me up, and it let me come back into my own tradition of Christianity like a different person. And then mindful meditation allows me to practice those things in a totally different way. So I thank you for your work. You in Tucson, what you're doing. I saw like everything you're doing to help the community there.
Thank you.
VA, even partnering with, like you said, that Franciscan monk that's doing, the way that you guys can work together. That, to me, that's beautiful, and that's what we need more of here. That's what we need, not lines being drawn in the sand like I'm over here and you're over there.
Correct. Yes, I think because we like, if you look at, that is the color of the world. I think we are different. I think that's the color of the world. If we look the same, this world will be a very boring place.
It'll be boring.
Yeah. Right.
So now I have a friend who's a Buddhist monk, and that brings some richness into my life.
Right. Yes.
I'm very honored to meet you and that you come on my show.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then I hope I could do the same for you.
Yes, yeah. I think that's my attitude when I meet with many people, So you open yourself, open your eye and your mind to embrace people coming to our life, I think we need to gain more knowledge, then we need to lessen our knowledge that help us to understand ourselves, our life, and understand our reality,
Yes, and you talk about people, it's about relationship. It's about that relationship with people. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, how do you say that you love God, but you don't love your fellow man? You don't love your brother. And to me, that really speaks to like, there's so many people that, the way you treat that other person, don't tell me you love God. I see how you're doing this. The way you're going about life, that doesn't make sense. That's a contradiction.
Right, because of your actions speak louder than your word, right?
Yes, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah,
So where do you want to end up? What is it? What does the rest of your life look like? A life of service, this monastery, teaching meditation. What path are you going down?
I think here and now I'm still happy. I'm still at peace of who I am as Buddhist monk. and I am the abbot of one of Buddhist monastery in Tucson. Yeah, and we are building our Buddhist community in Tucson. So my journey from Thailand started about over 18, 19 years ago, and end up in Tucson, and maybe probably where I'm going to end up there with our community and continue to build our Buddhist community in Tucson and building our work.
So you're building a family in Tucson, and that's
right. Yeah. So I teach and lead and practicing Buddhism and practicing meditation as my main practice. And I hope that this message, this practice will bring peace and happiness into our community. And we hope that we will continue to do that. And actually, this year is our 9-year anniversary of
happy anniversary
being in Tucson. Yes, yeah.
Right on. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to visit. I've got some family over there, so.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. If you happen to be in town, I actually welcome you to stop by and check it out. Yeah, and to see.
What do I got to do to get you to cook for me?
I think I not really cook because when I'm at the monastery, I have the community cook for me. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
So my food, normally someone cook for me. I do from time to time that I cook for someone else.
I love good Thai food.
Yeah, maybe one day we can do that, and we also have the community Thai food buffet once a month.
Oh, okay.
So you can look for detail on our website.
Me and Rigo are there. We're totally there. We love buffets.
Oh, good. Yeah. So if you happen to be in Tucson from March, April, May, on our day that we have the buffet. Yeah, we normally have the buffet on the third Saturday of the month.
Third Saturday of the month, and you can find out more information on your website. What's your website?
www.tucsonbuddhistcenter.org. Yeah.
Tucson Buddhist Center?
.org. Yeah.
Oh, okay. .org. Okay.
Yeah,
So you can find out more when that buffet is and what you got going on.
Yes.
If somebody wants to find out more about how to meditate, you teach them. You even the PTSD people and the VAs, you tell them it's okay. We're going to do this. You're going to be all right.
Right. Yeah. So for the work that I volunteer for the VA is I go out into the hospital and teach them over there at the hospital. Yeah, once a week. Yeah. So we just have a little session of meditation, not a lot,
Yeah. The baby steps.
Right, something like that.
Yeah, something like baby steps. Well, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for coming on the show. This has been great. I hope it's been enlightening for the listeners. Hopefully people learned a little bit more of what Buddhism is, what it isn't. And if they'd like to explore more, they can check out those books.
Yes.
I know that like I said, I can't stress enough how much these teachings of mindfulness have helped my life and helped me be a better Christian and do my practices or understand my faith. So thank you for doing that and being somebody that people can go to in Tucson, and appreciate you. And we're definitely, if I go to Tucson, I'm going to check you out.
Oh, thank you for having me here. And it's a great pleasure to be here on your show. And I think we'll see each other somewhere around town. Yeah.
All right. And good luck at your event tonight.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you. Oh, I just got to say one last thing.
Okay.
You did radio in Thailand.
Yes, I used to do that maybe 20-some years ago. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I used to host the Dhamma talk show. Yeah. In Thailand when I'm early 30th. Yeah.
Yeah, I just had to get that out there. I thought that was so cool because you came in, you saw the mics, and it brought back memories. So
right. Thank you very much. Yes.
All right. Well, cool. Thank you very much. And thank you guys for listening. If you like what you heard, make sure you leave us a rating or review. And until next time, goodbye.